a lot. You run a fantastic event. It sucks from my bedroom in Melbourne. There's no other way to say it. And I wish I was up there with you. In fact, last time I was there in, well, it was 2019 now, I actually announced that we were going to acquire the Hog Ranch project. So that was the first time anyone heard about it. And that's part of taking Rex in a new direction and bringing a gold project to the story. So we did that. And since then, well, I think gold's gone from $1,400 to $1,900. At the same time, copper was in the toilet, trading around $2.30 to $2.50, and copper's now above $3, about $3.15. And at the same time, the market cap of Rex, which was around $17 million when I spoke to you last, that's bounced nicely to about 48 million. Still makes us the cheapest copper or gold play anywhere in the world on the market. So a lot of work ahead, but things are looking fantastic and looking up for Rex Minerals for sure. What's happened as well since? Well, we've had the US election. That's a big deal, a lot of noise. It didn't really matter for us which way it went. It's, I think, very positive for gold. I think they've sorted the election result. You know, half the crew reckon they have, half haven't. Doesn't really matter. It's positive for gold. I think Biden's in, and Biden's likely to push the gold price higher because he's going to have to print even more money than Trump was printing to keep up with their plans. So the story is good for gold, but I guess the pivot is copper. And a Biden US government is probably going to be super positive for copper, and copper's already at 315. And copper's definitely a part of our story. So all I can give you via Zoom is a taste, I'm sorry, and that's all it'll be, a bit of a taste about where Rex is at and how things have progressed for us during the year. But we definitely are a 2-for-1. We're an investment in copper, and we're an investment in gold, and we're in two great places. Okay, if you've got risk appetite, you absolutely can go to parts of Africa and other countries, but North America and Australia still offer some awesome potential. And I'm going to start with our Hog Ranch project in North America. Now, the hog's starting to get a lot of attention, and for very good reason. When we acquired it, it was a glint in the eye, and that was only August last year. So things have progressed very quickly at Hog. It's emerging very fast as a regional opportunity. There's a picture of the Hog Ranch, one of the pits left behind from when Western Mining owned it. Western Mining last operated this project in about 1988 to 92. It's in the northwest corner of Nevada, and they pulled out of the US and left it. And we took it on from there. What did we inherit? Well, there's definitely an extensive alteration system there. We have a 2,500 hole drill hole database, and 90% of the resource that we've identified sits above 100 meters, so it's very shallow. It's very easy to mine, and it's all oxide. Heap leachable, as proven by Westerns in the day. We've identified 4 mineral deposits, and we started and obsessed originally down here in the south, that little green area in Bells. We then went to where Westerns were focused up here at Christa. We identified a couple of little targets here at Cameco and Airport, all have drill holes into them. All of this sits in a fantastic big caldera. And the blue here indicates that part of the caldera is actually under shallow cover. So you don't see outcropping gold in a large part of that caldera, whereas back here at Bells and Airport, the gold's outcropping and on surface. So since November last year, we've put a mineral resource together already of 1.4 million ounces in less than 12 months, right? And by any measure, that's a fabulous story. What have we been doing the second half of 2020 at Hog Ranch? Well, I'll take you through that, but to the northwest of the project, we identified a whole new area called Gillum. And this couple of our geos up there are doing some ground sampling and having a look at just what this is. Jeff Nichols, 20-year generation specialist with Newmont, and Stephanie Grock, a PhD volcanologist. After 3 days in the field, they came back and said, Jesus, you better peg this. This is a big hydrothermal silica cap. Jeff said, I haven't seen anything like that in the wild, unpegged, for over 20 years. Well, we got right onto things. We ran some IP lines to see if IP would give us any useful data. And we very quickly tripled the land package that we own. There's a picture out there staking a whole bunch of new ground. And we are now undertaking some 3D IP surveys. And I'll just touch on those briefly. But anyway, a lot's been going on at Hog. We put our first drill program in at the end of last year, and our second program in the about June through to August this year. And we've got a drill rig back on site now. But what does all this mean? What's Hog mean? Well, Hog is changing quickly, and it's fast becoming a giant story. We originally went in on this project, Bells, down here in green, because we've already drilled that resource out to 400,000 ounces. What our drilling's told us is that this has every chance now of turning into 600,000 ounces. We put a couple of holes here into Krista and one up here to see what's going on regionally in this target. And at the same time, we ran some IP lines. Well, we got a bit of a shock with what we're looking at. So we've already got 400,000 ounces here. We've already got 1 million ounces here at Krista. But what we're seeing is an unbelievable analogy to the Round Mountain. And the Round Mountain at 7 million ounces is one of Nevada's biggest epithermal gold projects. And that, in purple, is the scale of Round Mountain up against our Krista project. Now, we already have a truckload of gold at Krista, right? We've, in less than a year, managed to convert 1 million ounces of it into resource. And that's going to be the focus of our target. If you combine these two, that's 1.4 million ounces. If we can grow that beyond 2 million ounces, I think we absolutely have a startup scenario for a plus 100,000 ounce producer over there. But with 400,000 ounces at Bells, we have the greater Krista area. We also have now this big unveiling of this area, this central area here, which we call Airport and Cameco, and this new area we pegged up here, Gillum. So we've grown since I spoke to you last year from 240 mining claims. We've now staked and have 840 mining claims. So we've more than tripled the area because we see this huge silica cap up here. And it's most definitely a big hydrothermal system, right? We've already, from surface sampling, been able to identify that. So the project is growing rapidly. And look, there's a saying, right? There's not a single big, giant mine in the world that doesn't have a giant footprint. We already have a giant footprint with gold in it at Hog Ranch. So it's quickly taken on dimensions that we hadn't expected. Just to give you a little bit of a flavour though, let's have a look at the Bells scoping study, which is something we jumped on very quickly. That's a picture of Bells as Western Mining left it. They pulled out at around $350 an ounce gold. $1,900 today, $350 an ounce back then. And at $1,550 gold, remember, gold price is almost $1,900 today, US. We had an IRR in excess of 40% and an NPV of 75 million. What does all this mean? Right, without going into detail, because we have published on our website all the details and the numbers of this study, is that this thing will produce at around $900 an ounce total all-in sustaining cost without any optimization at all, right? And we think we can bring those prices down without any economy of scale. We have a starter pack at Bells ready to go. And we've jumped on the permitting bandwagon already, and we've started with some cultural surveys and some raptor surveys and getting this thing ready to go. So Bells is a fantastic low-cost startup opportunity with very low operating costs. Now, this is important. $10 a tonne per ore tonne total operating costs. And we only have a 0.5 to 1 strip ratio. That makes Bells, and it indicates what the heap leach project and prospectivity of the Hog Ranch can look like. But I have to take you quickly now to the exciting re-emergence of copper on the world footprint. All right, Hillside. We discovered this back 2007 now. Spent a lot of money very quickly putting that into play and drilling it out. And we discovered a large resource. We have a 2 million tonne copper resource with another 1.4 million ounces in South Australia. The difference here is we have a mining license that's been issued, and only in July this year we secured the final environmental approvals from the South Australian government, the PEPA. Right, we are now seeking joint venture partners and financing partners to develop this project. This is in a fascinating part of South Australia on the Yorke Peninsula. We have access to water, power, roads, ports, local housing and workforce. You know what a difference that makes? I mean, Rio Tinto have been crying recently about the discovery at Winu in Western Australia. Fantastic discovery. It's a fairly low-grade deposit, but it's in the middle of nowhere. They're going to have to spend billions on infrastructure. This is all available to us in South Australia. And South Australia is a place to be if you want to be looking for copper. Just some bottom line numbers. We're looking at a 35,000 tonne per annum copper project, producing a clean 27% concentrate. The IRR at a base case of $3 copper is 16% post-tax. At $3.15 today, it's already at 19% IRR spot price, right? We're going to produce it at a cash cost of about $1.38 a pound. Just to give you some perspective on that and some relativity, if you look at the global cost curve of copper projects, now these are distilled out. In fact, I stole this slide idea from Copper Mountain because I think they did a really good job of explaining the relevance and look at just how you can view this project in South Australia. We have a low capital intensity. So in other words, the capital dollars to build it for the production pounds of copper production, very low, definitely in the bottom quartile. Our cost curve, where do we sit on that? The median cost, C1 cost, is $1.67 a pound, and we're looking at $1.38. So we're right where you want to be in the bottom half of that curve. But if you have a look here, what does it mean? Right? Once again, we've distilled out some of the high-risk locations here, and you look at a lot of projects that people talk about, but you very quickly cull those projects to something significant. And specifically, though, how many projects in the Americas, in Canada, in Australia are approved for mining that will operate below the $1.67 a pound? And Hillside stands out, right? $150 million, discovered this project, put it in the go bay. So if we just reflect on what this all means, I know a lot of people at this conference will be focused on gold, but let me tell you, copper is gold for Silicon Valley, right? If you have any interest in the global pivot towards reducing carbon dioxide emissions, then you have to buy into the thematic that the world is going to electrify. And for the world to electrify, there is only the worst case scenario is this upside case. I call it the Elon case. If you are going to have electric cars running around everywhere, you're going to have $4 copper. And this thing just starts to print money at $4 copper. We are already sitting at spot today at 19% IRR. So Hillside is a fantastic project. Now, if you look at Rex Minerals, we're sitting in around between
Please cross to your last slide.
Yeah, $40 or $50 million. We're either worth less than 1 cent a pound in the ground on our copper or about $10 an ounce on our gold. So where are we at? Well, our drill rig's back on site today as I speak. This is the geologist who used to work there for Western Mining with Stephanie Grock. And here's a picture I just received in the email today of our drill rig back on site. A lot of exciting news to come. A lot going on with Rex. It's going to be 2021. It's going to be a fantastic year. And thanks very much for having me.